Hey folks, welcome to the new and refined Tableau Desktop Specialist Practice Exam Series. Let's get started. Our first question is going to be, in which section of the marks card can you adjust the transparency of colors? Is it going to be the color, the size, the label, or detail? So first of all, what is it talking about in terms of transparency? We have Tableau Desktop open over here, and it's going to, I'm going to walk you through it. So basically we have a visualization here, correct? And I want to be able to set the transparency of these marks. Maybe the background is a certain color, or maybe on the dashboard I have a certain image and I want a little bit of that to bleed through. How would I set the transparency to be like 50% or lower or higher? Well, we have all these different options in the marks card because we are talking about the marks card, but is it going to be color, size, label, or detail? I think those were the four options. So let's check the first one, color. Does that allow us to change the transparency? Yes. If you look over here where it says opacity, right now it's 100%. It's 100% visible. I can reduce that. I could even type in what I want to, and you'll notice that the actual intensity of the color changes based on the transparency. So over here, it's all the way blue. As I bring it down and let go, it gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer because, well, more of that background, that white background, which you could change, by the way, is now bleeding through. So color is definitely one way where you have access to that property. How about the other ones, the size, the label, and detail? Well, the size over here, it's only going to allow us to change the girth or the size of this visualization of the individual marks. So that doesn't have transparency. How about the label? Again, nothing here that we can really do in terms of transparency other than allowing labels to overlap, that sort of thing, showing mark labels. That doesn't really help us. Last option, detail. Nothing, no option really that you can do. It's really about, the level of detail you're looking at. If I drag something here, it's gonna, essentially generate marks for that detail. So none of these are giving us the correct properties with the exception of color. So color over here is going to be the correct solution. By the way, if you do enjoy videos like this, consider liking the video and subscribing for more content just like this. Next question, which aggregation functions can operate on both numeric and non-numeric fields? So in a sense, if you're talking about like numeric fields like sales, and you're talking about something more categorical, such as a customer name or a category, which you'll see in this example, which of these aggregation functions can be used on both numeric and non-numeric? So we have count as well as average. We have sum and median. We have count and count D, which is count distinct. And then we have concat. So which of these can operate on both? So we'll demonstrate this in Tableau. We'll start with the first one, count and average. So both of those have to be true. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a calculated field, and then we're going to identify one numeric field, so sales, for example, and then also non-numeric, which in this case would be category. So again, what were those options? Count. So can I do a count on sales? Yes, no errors there. Can I also do a count on category? Yes, I can. How about the other part of this first option, average? Can I do an average of category? I get an error right away. It tells me that average is being called with a string, and you obviously can't do that. You'd have to basically pass a float or a numeric field. So that's not going to be the correct solution. So we can't do average. We could do count, however, so it still is not going to be the correct solution. Sum and median. So can you do a sum of category? No, so automatically second option is out of the question. Third option, count and count D. We know count worked. How about count D or count distinct? Yes, no errors there. And if I type in sales, the numeric field, what happens? Oh, let me do that again. Sales, no error. So wow, the third option here seems to work for both numeric and non-numeric fields. How about concat? Concat, that's an interesting one. Concat, well, there's no such option called concat, or unless unknown function called concat. Okay, how about if I do concatenate? Concatenate. No. So, we use that in Excel all the time, but not the case here. So the only correct option here is going to be the third option. Concat obviously is more of a distractor, so don't even worry about that. Next question. True or false, a histogram in Tableau automatically creates bins based on the underlying distribution. So does creating a histogram in Tableau automatically generate bins. Let's demonstrate that. So first of all, what does a histogram look like? I'm going to click show me over here. And then this is a histogram, and all you need, as you can see down here, is one measure. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new sheet. I'm just going to click on like quantity, for example, and now I can just click histogram. It'll generate a histogram. Right away, what do you see up here? It says quantity bin. What did it do? I passed quantity as something that I wanted to generate a histogram for. It automatically, you'll see here on the left, it created a bin field for quantity, which of course I can edit, and I can go crazy with these different options, whether I want it to be parameter driven or suggest bin size, what have you. But according, as for the question, does it automatically create bins? Yes. So it's going to be true because we just demonstrated that successfully. Next question. To display data over time, which chart type is most effective in Tableau? Is it going to be line chart, bar chart, pie chart, or scatter plot? So we're going to refer to the Tableau documentation here, which talks about building line charts. And it says over here, they provide a simple way to visualize a sequence of values and are useful when you want to see trends over time. So anytime you think over time, hands down, typically the best way to show it is using a line chart, or otherwise known as a time series. And we'll go into Tableau. I'll give you maybe an example here, but let's say you have an order date and then you have sales, and I drag it over here and I create a line chart. This is the best way for you to really identify the trend, see where the trajectory is going, how something is performing over time. If you were to use a bar chart, theoretically, yes, it could also work, especially if you have it oriented the right way, but really not very useful in terms of showing you a trend over time. It's more so for comparing categorical fields such as category, like instead of year of sales, if I have category, that's something you would typically want to use category for, something like this. So that's not going to be the correct solution. Pie chart really to show parts of a whole. It doesn't really show you value of anything over time efficiently. That's not going to be the correct solution. And scatter plot, again, not so much. You just have a bunch of different data points lying around. Doesn't really show you much of a trend unless you get into those analytical functions where it shows you like a trend line or forecasting, things of that nature. So the correct solution here is going to be line chart. Next question. Blank is essential for drilling down into hierarchical levels of data in Tableau. Is it going to be tree map, pie chart, Gantt chart, or packed bubble chart? Now, Tableau does have the hierarchy functionality, but it's not talking about that here. It's talking about the actual visualization. So which of these visualizations are helpful in looking at hierarchy or maybe even drilling down? So the first option is tree map. So again, I'm going to go to a new sheet and I'm going to look at where it says tree map. So as you can see, for a tree map, we need one or more dimensions and one or two measures. So to demonstrate the hierarchy feature, I'm going to highlight two different categories, or two different dimensions, category and subcategory, which, by the way, fall into this hierarchy of product, as you could see here. And then I'm going to have sales. I'm going to have a measure, right? And then I'm going to click on tree map. And what you'll notice is basically you have a good representation at a high level. So this entire square, this is all these four elements, they are part of category. If you see when I mouse over, it says category technology and then subcategory accessory. So what it did is it grouped this giant box of technology subcategories into one area. So at a glance, you could tell right away, like the biggest portion here is technology, followed by furniture, followed by office supplies. And then you can drill down and further see of technology, phones, has the largest amount of sales, followed by, maybe machines, things of that nature. So you're really able to look at two different levels of hierarchy and really kind of drill down in that sense. So far I'm leaning towards the first one being the correct option. How about the second option, pie chart? Well, again, pie chart really just mainly used in the event that you have parts of a whole, right? It's not really friendly in terms of being able to drill down. That's not going to be the correct solution. Gantt chart, again, really, by the way, what comes to mind with a Gantt chart is a bullet graph. So what do you need? 0 or more dimensions and 2 or more measures. So I typically use something like this for like sales versus target, things of that nature. But if we did something like this, again, doesn't really demonstrate hierarchy in any clean way. So that's not the correct solution either. Last option, packed bubble chart. Honestly, I've never actually used this in a production setting, but let's just demonstrate. So you have a category and you have a measure, and you can have one or more dimensions. So I have one or more dimensions, and then I have sales, and then I have a packed bubble. So again, not a very clean way to look at different dimensions or be able to drill down. So this is not the correct solution either. The really only viable out of the box way, logically, efficiently, and pretty much best practice would be to use a tree map if you are looking into drilling down through hierarchy. So that's going to be the solution here. Next question, which Tableau feature allows the visualization of data changes over time through animation? So keyword, over time through animation. Is it going to be the pages shelf, which I'm sure a lot of you haven't even heard of or maybe worked with, filter shelf, stories, or analytics pane? So just process of elimination, even like the second option here, filter shelf, doesn't really help you with animations or seeing anything over time, right? That the filter shelf is just a way to filter data. So that's not going to be the correct solution. So right off the bat, that can't be the correct solution. First option, once again, pages shelf. What is the pages shelf? Where is it? It's right here. So let me go back to this first sheet I had, right? And then let's say I had something like, I wanted to see this over time. So I'm going to bring order date into pages. What does that do? Over here, I have year of order date, and I can page through these different years, right? So if I had something like, maybe if I turn this around, something like this. So I have sum of sales of category, and I want to see it incrementally progress throughout the years. I can click on this arrow. So right now I'm looking at 2019. If I click this arrow, now it's 2020, now it's 2021, 2022. What is that doing? That's animating and allowing me to really visualize the change in something over time. So again, that seems to be the correct solution, but let's just keep going. Stories. What are stories really for? If I open up a new story over here, really it's to build a story using different visualizations, not in the context of having one visualization and seeing a trend over time. So I can have a story point like this, and then I can add, a different sheet as a different story point to the same story. And this is how you would see it. Like, this is part one, this is part two, but not in the context of being able to see something over time. So that's not going to be the correct solution. Last option is pane. Or the analytics pane, I should say. So again, these are just really analytical functions, if you will. They're not going to allow you to animate or see anything over time. They're just going to allow you to summarize data a certain way, or maybe cluster data or forecast data. But in the sense of animations, doesn't really help. So the correct solution here is going to be pages shelf. Next question, what is primarily used to connect Tableau to different data sources simultaneously? Is it data blending, data extraction, live connection, or server connection? So for this, I'm going to get some help from the Tableau documentation over here, which talks about blending your data. And as you could see, data blending is a method for combining data from multiple sources. So when do you use data blending? Typically when you want to bring in different data sources, and maybe you have a sheet and you want to bring in values from data source A, but you also want to bring in values from, data source B. You're able to do that in a single sheet. You're able to map the fields that would act as a key in a sense and have that happen. Now there's different ways to bring data together. You could use relationships, you could use joins, but these are typically things that are used when you're working with the same data source. When you're talking about different data sources, that's when you would want to use blend. So going back to the question, data blending so far seems to be the correct solution. How about data extraction? Data extraction, not really something you do in Tableau other than generating data extracts. Data extraction is not something you typically use to bring different data sources together simultaneously. It's more so a way of differentiating between if you want to tap into a live database or if you want to have that data stored and refresh incrementally or what have you over time. So that's not going to be the correct solution. Live connection, again, nothing has to do with the simultaneous nature of data sources, that can't be the correct solution. Server connection, same thing, right? It's really more so of metadata, like how you would go about connecting to a particular server to maybe get data from it. Not typically something you would use to bring different data sources together. Once again, the only viable solution here is data blending. Next question, true or false, Tableau Desktop cannot export visualizations directly to PDF format. And boy, is this a tricky one. So is this going to be true or false? What it's saying is you cannot export PDFs directly from Tableau Desktop. Now, the reason it's tricky is because in a general sense, if you have like subscriptions going out, you do have the option of emailing out PDFs. But when it comes to these visualizations, if you were to go to like worksheet, because I'm highlighting a worksheet, and you go to export over here, and you have between these options, cross tab to Excel, data, or image, you would think if I click on image, it should allow me to save as a PDF. Well, all I'm able to see here is that all I can do is export as a PNG, a bitmap, an SVJ, or a JPEG. So I don't see PDF here. However, there is in fact still a way to export directly as a PDF. What do? You go to File, you go to Print, and when this loads up, on the bottom left, you will see it says PDF. And if I click on PDF, I then have the option of saving this as a PDF. So there you go. You can in fact export this as a PDF. So the solution here is going to be false, because the idea that you can't export visualizations in PDF is incorrect. Next question. What allows the dynamic control of multiple visualization elements simultaneously in Tableau? And you could select multiple correct options here. So of these 5 options, how many of these can you use to change different visualizations at once? Now, if you work with Tableau enough, it should be pretty much common sense, because a lot of these are pretty basic ideas. But if you have a parameter such as year, I'm not going to demonstrate this for the sake of time, but if you have a parameter for, so let's say year, and then you have a calculated field that says if year of order date equals parameter value, in this case year, then true or false, right? And then you have a filter, you bring that in as a filter, that calculated field, you can apply that filter to multiple sheets. And so you have a filter that's driven by that parameter through a calculated field, and that can apply to multiple sheets. So the first 3 right off the bat do in fact allow that dynamic control. 4th option, actions. Yes, of course. And highlight action is a component of action. But yes, if you can set it up a certain way where if I go to worksheet over here, and then I go to actions, and once you set up a highlight action, what you can basically say, and again, I'm not going to go crazy with this, but what you can do is, let's say I have other sheets with the same kind of information. I want to highlight over certain marks. I can configure this in a way so those corresponding marks in those other sheets are also highlighted, if that makes sense. So really all 5 of these are going to be the correct solutions, because all of them drive that dynamic behavior where you can apply that across the board to all the sheets. So that's going to be the solution here. Next question. Which component is not typically used to improve dashboard performance in Tableau? Is it going to be data extracts, live connections, aggregated extracts, filters, or calculated fields? First and foremost, do data extracts help improve performance? Absolutely, because instead of having to pull that data real time every time you go to a different sheet on a dashboard, or you filter through, or you select a different parameter, all the data is already there, right? So extracts do help with performance, so that can't be the correct solution. On the other hand, live connections, as I just mentioned, they're not used to improve performance. They actually hinder performance. So that's going to be the most viable solution so far. Third option, aggregated extracts. And that's when you have an extract and you aggregate it over a certain dimension or a period of time, what have you. Certainly that's going to help with performance because you're reducing the size of the data. So that can't be the correct solution here. Fourth option, filters. Obviously restricting data is going to help improve performance. In most cases, there are instances where you don't want to go too crazy with filters, but generally speaking, you do want to use filters to help with performance. Lastly, calculated fields here. Yes, calculated fields in the right situations do help Tableau performance. For example, if you have a crazy nested if statement versus having a case statement, that case statement could be used to optimize performance because a nested if statement isn't very performance friendly. So all of these options are used to improve performance with the exception of live connections. Those actually hinder performance, so that's going to be the solution here. Quick pause. If you like these videos but you're serious about acing the Tableau Desktop Specialist practice exam or certification, I've got news for you. Check out the link in the description if you're interested in practicing with an even more realistic set of practice exam questions. There are at least 5 different practice exams, 45 questions each, with the proper distribution of exam topic areas. You'll know exactly which questions you got right or wrong and what the correct solutions were. Now, there are a limited number of spots available, so be sure to take advantage of the limited time offer because, as you know, practice makes perfect. And that's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you found the video helpful. As always, be sure to like the video if you do enjoy content like this. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, I will see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.